Welcome to another video. Today we're going to fit an auxiliary fuel tank or long range tank to my mate Pete's C90. I've got all the bits, we're all ready to go. Let's get on with it. So these are the parts we're going to use. It's a Honda GX generator tank. You get them on eBay, they're like 20-30 quid. It's a genuine Honda part, quite nice quality. 3.7 litres, like a US gallon, so it's the same capacity as the tank on the bike. So we've got a strip of steel. This is 3 by 20 mil. That's what I use. Works well, not too heavy. If you buy a metre, that's plenty. So I've got a strip of aluminium to make the tank, the bracket from the seat to the tank. This will do the front 2 stays and a cross piece. I'm using aluminium because I've got it. It's lightweight. We'll just measure that so you know what size it is. Yeah, this is 24 by 6 centimetres. That's plenty for what we need. We will have to cut a little piece off that. We've got a metre of 6 mil fuel pipe. Make sure it's unleaded, suitable for unleaded. 6 mil or 1/4 inch. A fuel tap that we have in line, so you can turn this tank on and off. A T-piece. Again, these two are 6 mil or 1/4 inch. We've got 2 nuts and bolts. These are M6 by 16. 2 of those, 4 washers, 2 nylocks, and a couple of dome head bolt nuts. We'll get to that later and you'll see why you want dome nuts. These are all A2 stainless, so we won't have any problems with it getting musty. And I've got some paint to some zinc primer and some silver to paint the brackets with, to paint these. So the first thing we need to do, we'll make the brackets first. Let's do this one first because it's the most awkward. It needs lots of bends. So you're going to need a square, a scriber, a dot punch, bit of rag to wipe your hands on if you're OCD like me, a hammer, and ideally a bench vise. So your flat bit of plate should be 60 mil wide. Just break this piece, which it is. I know that because I cut it out earlier. So the first bend is 55 mil. If you've got a caliper, it saves a lot of grief as well. 55 mil. And my mate Andy, who's an engineer, will wince at some of the things I'm going to do. But it's easy, you know. With this aluminium, it's so soft and marks really easily. And you can use the caliper, the sharp corner, to mark. I know you shouldn't do this, but it leaves a lovely clear mark. There's my 55 mil. Just going to scribe that off so I know where to bend it. So we've got another 55 mil. So that, if my maths is correct, is 110. Write that one as well. And thirdly, another 55 mil. And my caliper won't go that far, so I've got to measure that one. That's 55, 55, 55. Yeah. And the last one is 30. 30 mil. As you can see, we've got quite a few bends on here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 sections of 55, and the last one is 30 mil. So there's going to be a hole about here somewhere, and 2 here that bolt to the seat. Now it's easier to drill these now, while you've still got a flat piece of metal. So the first 2 holes are 15 mil from the top. Make use of your caliper. None of this is critical, you know, like to the fraction of a mil. As long as you're within a mil, you won't be too far off. And a millimetre in engineering terms is a big tolerance. So the holes are 36 mil apart. There's 2 holes, 36 mil apart. Now I'm just going to eyeball this. It wants to be in the middle of your bracket, but it's fairly easy to judge that. So there's our 2 hole marks, and this one here is 17 mil from the edge. Hope you're remembering, hope you're making notes. You'll have to just keep watching it back. 17 mil from the edge and 12 mil from that line. Twelve mil from that line there. It's more than 12 mil. Double check. Now we can dot punch these, just to help the drill when you drill the holes. They won't slide about all over the place. Is that one? That one. And that one. We'll drill those holes. So I'm fortunate in that I've got a pillar drill, makes life a lot easier. I'm using a 7mm drill. We're using 6mm bolts, but I'm using a 7mm drill just to give us a bit of clearance and a bit of leeway if you get something slightly wrong. So we've got our 3 holes. What I like to do is just use a countersink just to clean these holes up a bit. Just shows that you care, you know. And you've got no sharp edges. If you haven't got a countersink, you can just use a big old drill bit, like a 12mm or something. So it's nice and smooth now. You don't catch your fingers on it. So now I want to just trim that. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that scribe mark there, I just want to cut that off. And also trim around this hole a little bit and get rid of some of this material here. Now take our piece over to the bandsaw. I don't expect you'll have a bandsaw. You can just use a hacksaw, or this is about 2mm thick, this aluminium, so you probably will need a hacksaw. You won't cut that very easily with tin snips. If I switched it on. Don't chuck these pieces away, they come in handy. I'm just going to clean these edges up a bit with a file. Yeah, we've got no sharp edges. So we're going to do the first bend now, which is there. Put the file away. We will need that later. Make sure you get that on the line. And before you tighten the vise up, just get a a square, and make sure you've got that piece square in the vise. That's it, spot on. Now what I like to do is use a flat-faced soft hammer for bending this, and don't go too mad with it. Just put a bit of pressure on the top. Don't overbend it. So we've got a nice smooth finish on the metal. No hammer marks across it. I've slightly overbent that, but because it's aluminium, it bends easily back. There we are. Lovely. We'll do the next bend, which we know is going to be this way. Make sure it's square, which it is. And do the same again. One more bend to do. Make sure it's square. There we have it. That's pretty good. So that's the main bracket. So we come on to our strip of steel now. So we need 3 brackets out of this. The first one is 200mm. Now there are bends at 50mm each end. We'll mark that. 50mm. That's our bend points. Now the holes, again 7mm holes. We might make these 6.5. We don't want it sloppy. Let's cut that off. Not easy to see this, but there it is. See how much the vise makes your life really easy. You really need a vise if you've got a home workshop. Let's square those ends up a bit with a file. Take all those sharp edges off. So I've made another one of these off camera. We've got two exactly the same. Both measuring 50mm. They're 200 overall. 50mm to the first bend on each end. And we need to drill holes in each corner of each end. So they're 10mm to the hole centre on each end. And smack in the middle, so it's again 10mm. Dot punch those and then drill the holes. Actually, you only need to dot punch one because you can drill them both together. Drill them both at the same time. Put them on top of each other like that. And drill them both together. So I've clamped my two brackets together. I'm using a 3mm pilot drill for this because it's steel. It needs it. You won't go through straight with a 6.5. Well, you could, but best not to. Just put a bit of oil on there. I've put a little bit of marker pin on there so I can see where I'm going. See, the 3mm drill goes through nice and easily. Drill through both sides. That's the 3mm done. Put the 6.5 in. So we've almost finished these brackets. Just use the countersink to clean those up, because there's some nasty sharp edges on there. So those two brackets done. So the third and last bracket is 220. 220 overall. So we're just going to get it out of the piece of steel we've got here. But this was less than a metre. 220, which is there. So again, like the other pieces, just tidy the ends up. Doesn't take a minute, and it shows you care, doesn't it? And you've got no sharp edges. Purely optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. So I'll measure 20mm from the end. This is our bend line. So we're going to have a right angle bend on each end. So we'll just recap. 10mm from the end to the centre of that first hole. 38mm from the end for the second hole. The studs on the tank are 100mm apart to the centre. So that one you've marked there for 38 goes there. Mark that one. Well, let's get them drilled. I'm going to drill those two middle ones 7mm, just to give us a bit of leeway, because those studs are slightly bent. They're never dead straight. So again, because these are steel, I'll use a 3mm pilot hole. So we need the 7mm. So that's all our holes drilled now. We don't need to do any more drilling. The ends are cleaned up. Just countersink those. Lovely jubbly. Just make sure that fits the tank. It does. Perfect. Look at that. So now we're going to put a right angle bend on each end where those marks are. To make sure that's nice and square. Now I use a proper hammer for this. Because it's steel, that soft hammer won't do it. One nice right angle bend. Do the same the other end. So that's that done. So there are our 3 brackets. So that one goes on the tank like that. And these 2 go to the front where the leg shield bolts are. What we'll do now, we'll clean these up, paint them, and while the paint's dry, get the leg shield off and do the hose and the tap. So I'm going to use a mini grinder just to, with a fairly fine disc, just to clean these up. I might put some gloves on. Just in case I get too close for the grinder. So there's our 3 brackets, nice and clean. Let's get some paint on them. I'm going to use the zinc primer first. I've got a load of these hooks that I made just for hanging stuff up. And I've also got a extractor fan. So I'll stick that on so I don't have to breathe the fumes in. Give the can a good shake. So that's the zinc primer done. So what you can do on a cold day to speed up the drying is use a hot air gun. That dries it really quickly. So that's the zinc coat dried. Got the silver on there. So we need to get the leg shield off and the seat. I'll stick you on time lapse for that one. Got to drain the fuel. So this Pete's bike's got a little filter added here. It's also got a reserve position on the tank, which mine hasn't got. Mine has only got one hose coming in. See, someone's been here before because they didn't put the clips back where they should be. The little fuel hose clip to help keep it on. We'll put that back where it should be. Okay. See why they didn't put it back. That's quite awkward. Maybe I'll do for that. Yeah, let's get this fuel drained. Hopefully. What we'll do, we'll get rid of that little filter because there's no need for it. It's got a filter in the tap. Somebody's just added that, and it's nice and clean in there. Just don't need it. So that's the fuel drained. As I thought, Pete had it filled to the bloody brim. Interestingly, his carburettor is exactly the same as mine. I might swap that over. Swap that with mine, you'll never know. Until he starts it up and it runs like shit. Only joking, Pete. I wouldn't do that. So I'll get this filter off. Or maybe not. God, that's well on there, that is. It needs to come off because it's right in the way. that's off now. Now these little clips you get in a box, they're Chinese. You get them on eBay for a couple of quid. They're not expensive. Really useful. Buy yourself a box if you mess about with stuff like this. You'll find some that's suitable size. That looks good. Get our T-piece in. You need something. You need some sort of clamp. Some little Jubilee clips or something. But these are nice. They're neat. So we need to put our T-piece in there. But it doesn't really matter whether you have it on the main or return or reserve line. It doesn't matter. Cut that up about there. Like that. Feed the hose through this hole. The leg shield can be fitted back in place. So we're going to put the seat back on with the bracket we made earlier underneath. Put the seat on. This is a bit of fiddly job, this is. Now when the tank is on, you do sacrifice the ability to put the seat forward and it stays there on its own because the tank is in the way. Not much you can do about that. Okay, let's put the tank on. So I've got another nice stainless bolt. And you'll see a nut behind here where the fuel hose is. Like so. Don't tighten it up at this stage. Yeah, all looks pretty good. Now we need our brackets we made earlier as well. So something I failed to mention earlier, these brackets that go up here, they need a slight bend like that. That's what the 50mm marks were for. I forgot all about that. Sorry about that. But the bends are there now. So we're going to get these bolted on and then do the hoses. Put that bracket on the inside, which looks a bit neater. Now if you stick around to the end, I will give you all the sizes of these bolts. I've had to use a longer bolt than the one that's on the bike for that one. So I'm using marine grade A2 stainless for all these nuts and bolts, so nothing will get rusty. So there it's on, that's it, nice and rigid. All the bolts are done up. You'll notice it's very slightly canted back, which is good because the fuel outlet is at the back, so you'll get all your fuel. There won't be any dead spots. It's as low as you can get and still be practical. You still get your seat open okay. It does actually stay open on this one, it doesn't on mine. So now we need to cut this, put the tap in and connect it up at that end on the tank, and that will be job done. So what we'll do, put the tap about there. Cut that there. One of our nice clips. These are much neater than Jubilee clips. Doesn't matter which way around that goes. Another clip on a spare bit of hose. Small bit. Come on, these are a tight fit. That's a good thing. So try and get everything nice and neat, because Pete likes it neat like I do. And that needs to be about there. And we're done. That's it. Now don't worry about the hose rubbing on that bit of plastic, because it's really thick walled stuff. You're not going to wear through it. So there we are. Just got to put the fuel back in and make sure we've got no leaks, which we shouldn't have, because everything's on. So what you do with this is leave it switched off until you need it. Run that tank till it's empty, or you go on reserve, and then turn that one on, like so. That's on. That will feed through, and it will actually backfeed into the tank again, and it will level itself out. So this will go down, and it will go back into there, and it will level out roughly in the middle. So you don't want to turn this on when that one's full, because there is a danger it will feed back through and pour out the filler cap, because the fuel will be above the level of the cap. There's not much in it, it's only like that much, but there is a danger. So I always leave mine off, because that's what it's for anyway. At the end of the day, it's a reserve tank. But that holds the same as that. 3.7 litres, 1 US gallon. At a push you can get, well, not even at a push, quite easy really, you can get 100 miles. 100 miles per tank. So you've now got a 200-mile tank range. So just as a recap, these two bolts here, you'll need two of those. They're M6 by 16 with nylock nuts and flat washers. On the tank, to the bracket to the tank, we've got M6 dome nuts with a flat washer and a spring washer. There's two of those each. This bolt is M6 by 25. Two of those with flat washers. The seat bolt, you can use the originals. That little one there is M6 by 12, quite a short one. So nice and rigid, good solid job, there's nothing wrong with that. That's my take on the auxiliary fuel tank. And stick the fuel back in it. And let's get a locking cap. That's a bit tiresome, Pete. What I did with mine, I took my cap to pieces and just threw the guts away, because that's a pain in the neck, that is, having to get your keys and unlock it. Put this furry seat cover back on. Well worth having though. Sheepskin seat covers, so when you've got a long distance, it's the best thing since sliced bread. There we have it. Annoyingly, we've got two different keys. continuing on. Bit of choke, see it starts. Oh, it's a kickstart. I've got to kickstart it. Not used to kickstarting. I like electric start. Yeah, that's all good. Pete's bike runs sweet as a nut. Wish I could nick his car better. So I hope you found that useful. That's it for this one. Any questions? You know, if you can have a go at this yourself and you need to know anything, ask a question in the comments and I'll get back to you. I'm always happy to help if I can. So we're going to leave the shed tinkering for a little while, and the next video will be a ride or a camp, something outside. You know, I'm getting a bit of cabin fever and I want to get out and I want to do stuff. Hopefully the weather will brighten up a little bit to allow that, because nobody likes getting soaking wet. I don't mind the cold, but I bloody hate getting wet and rained on. It's no fun at all, is it? So we'll end the video there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheerio. No jokes about the BBC this time.